following the regulatory norms, and also you are showing what is the profit or loss and what is the financial position of the company, right? So what all happened, the same thing, you're just showing it. Whereas coming to finance and financial management, uh, it is more of decision making. In accounting, you had very less scope for decision making because things have already happened, and those only you are putting in some proper format. Whereas in financial management, you have a lot of scope for decision making based on the information what you are getting through accounts and other disciplines. You are trying to manage your finances. So finance, exactly, it means the management of flow of funds. You receive funds, use those funds. So from where you are receiving and how you are utilizing to maximize the profitability of the firm, that is what is financial management. So this financial management, it is a framework and also an analytical tool for financial decision making. So, as I already told, it is mostly for decision making that we use the concepts and discipline of financial management. So, a company's assets are there, liabilities are there, how you have to maintain these assets and liabilities, what are the costs you can incur, what is the profit planning to earn your profits, so how you have to manage your wealth, and how what type of decisions you have to take and what decisions you have to take, all that will be coming under the ambit of finance. So it is all about what are the assets that you are going to invest in and what are the liabilities you are going to take up. That is financial management. So the ultimate aim of this financial management will be to earn profits and to increase the value of the firm. That is the ultimate goal of not only finance, any other discipline you take. The ultimate goal is to increase the value for the shareholders or value of its business to grow financially. So, the main things on which the decision is taken in financial management is what assets you have to buy, when you have to buy, at what price you have to buy, or what assets are useless and when you have to sell them off, how you have to utilize these assets. All that will be coming under, or all these activities, or any activity related to these acquisition, financing, and management of assets will be falling under financial management. So basically, we say that financial management is having some important functions, and those functions will be revolving around the investment, the financing activity, and asset management decisions. So, what are all these? What the financial manager does within all this? Again, we'll be looking detailedly into the functions of financial management. So, if you look at the definition of financial management, it is that area of business management devoted to a judicious use of capital and a careful selection of the source of capital in order to enable a spending unit to move in the direction of reaching the goals. And this definition is given by J.F. Brandley. So here they are saying careful selection of sources of capital. Sources of capital, can you tell me what are the different sources of capital for a company?
It could be
Equity,
shares or debentures.
Right? It could be shares or it can be
debt,
debentures, right? Yes, Vishal?
debt, ma'am,
Yes,
loan,
debt. Taking loans from financial institutions, right? So these are different sources through which the company can get capital. So whether it has to go for shares or it has to raise debt, that decision is in the hands of financial manager. And how he will take the decision whether to go for equity or debt, and at what rate you have to borrow or you can borrow, that all it will be depending upon many other factors, like where they are going to use this money and what are the expected cash flows for the firm, which projects they are going to take up, and what is the return on investment they are going to earn on those projects. So a lot of things fall into place for taking these capital structure decisions. So from where they have to raise the capital, and at the same time where they have to spend this money. So spending means which projects they have to take up, which assets they have to buy, and at what price. All these decisions is uh, will be the spending or allocation of your resources, financial resources. So whatever they are doing, again it is for achieving the goals, reaching the goals. So goals means what type of goals a firm can have. Can anybody tell me?
Having high sustainability.
Okay. When can a firm sustain? Firm should have high sustainability. That is, it has to run, be in the business for a long period of time. At
when
the
you
same
gain
time,
when you gain
yes,
constant profitability.
right. So profitability is important. Then only a firm can survive. So that is the ultimate goal of the companies, to earn profits, to be in the business, and to grow. So whatever the financial management does, it will be for this purpose only. Okay. So you have a small concept on forms of business. So basically here in FM, we are going to discuss for you three forms of business: sole proprietorship, partnership, and joint stock company form of business. Again, you have this in more depth in subject called mercantile law. Okay, there it would be repeated again in more depth. So for the time being, sole proprietorship. I think you may be having idea what is a sole proprietorship. Tell me.
Single person owning
Sole
the business.
owner of the business.
Okay, single person is the owner. What else? So whatever are the profits and losses for that business, they belong to that proprietor. Usually, that person who is whoever is the owner, he is known as proprietor. So the proprietor is whole and sole responsible for whatever profits or losses the business is having, and at the same time, the liability of the sole proprietor is unlimited. Unlimited in the sense, whenever there is a need for more capital or need for more money into the business, then it is the responsibility of that proprietor to bring in more capital into the business. He cannot think or he cannot ask anybody. It is whole and sole his responsibility how he is going to manage the finances of the business, right? So basically what happens in sole proprietorship is there is no differentiation between the business and the person, the proprietor. They both are considered one and the same, and usually whatever income that is received from the business is taxed in the name of the person only, unless the business is registered one. A sole proprietorship can be registered or it may not be registered. So if it is a registered one, then all your taxes, profit and loss, everything will be in the name of the registered firm. Okay. And also one more important thing in this sole proprietorship is the scope for raising more and more capital is very less. That is a single person, because of credibility. When any business can increase or can raise capital or borrow funds only when the credibility of the person who is borrowing the funds is very high. So, a single person, usually the trust on the ability of a single person is limited. Sole handedly, he will not be able to manage. That is the thought process. So, the capital amount of capital he can raise in the market usually will be limited or lesser when compared to the other forms of business like partnership or company. Okay. So coming to the next form of business, it is partnership. So what is partnership? You can see here in the slide. So somebody unmute yourself and tell me.
Two or more people owning the business, and
Okay,
profit and losses are shared between them.
right. So partnership is usually to overcome the drawbacks of sole proprietorship. Partnerships are formed. A person single handedly may not be able to manage all his business. So he may feel that he needs some people where, of course, he can hire workers on salary basis. But again, he may need more capital where if he is having partners, then they can help in bringing more capital into the business. And uh, even whatever is the responsibility of a owner or proprietor, that will be taken up by the partners altogether. So a single person's burden is reduced in a partnership when there are two or more people who are sharing the liability, who are sharing the responsibility as proprietors or owners of the business, and they will also be sharing the losses. So this sharing of profit and loss is in the agreed ratio. Usually whatever is the ratio in which they bring in the capital, that is the ratio at which they also divide the profit and sometimes losses also. In the agreed ratio, they have a partnership deed, that is or a written, we can say a written document wherein all the terms and conditions related to partnership are written and signed by the partners, so that in future they will not have any problem in deciding on few things. And we have partnership act 1932 that will be taking care of any issues and other regulatory requirements related to partnership. Okay. So any partnership, they should have minimum two partners and maximum is 100. So if a partnership is going beyond 100, what will happen? Yes. Can you tell me? Suppose if the number of members in a partnership have increased to more than 100, what they can
Become
do then?
the company.
Right. They can be registered as a joint stock company. So, corporations or joint stock companies, they are registered as per the new Companies Act 2013. So here, our shares, equity shares, preference shares, debentures, all this coming to picture.
Ma'am,
In a Yes,
your property cannot be held in the name of firm in last point of partnership. That means personal property, right?
yes.
Okay.
Uh, because this partnership is a firm, but it is not a separate person. Okay, like a joint stock company, it is like an artificial person created by law. The day when company is registered, according to law, it is considered as a person, as an artificial person. So, as a artificial person, a company can hold assets and liabilities in its own name, and it can be sued in courts in the name of the company, and it can sue others also in the name of the company only. It is not individual responsibility in a joint stock company. So a joint stock company, usually you have equity shareholders, You have preference shareholders, you have debenture holders or bond holders, right? So equity shareholders are known as the real owners of the company. Do you have any idea what is a equity share, what is a preference share? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you tell me what is the difference between equity share and preference share?
The first difference is the value of equity shares are constantly fluctuating, whereas the value
Okay,
of preference shares are given preference during the time of giving dividend or paying back the capital.
right,
Equity shares are given after preference shares.
right,
Equity shares have special rights like voting rights, etc. Preference shares don't have.
right. So basically, equity shares, the dividend on preference shares is fixed. Every year they'll be getting a fixed percentage of dividend. Whereas equity shares, there is no fixed percentage of dividend paid. If a company is having profit, then they will be paid, and that too, first out of the profits, preference shareholders will be paid the dividend. Suppose 10% is the dividend to be paid on preference shares. So 10% on preference shares they will pay first from the profits. Then any profits are remaining, from that only equity shareholders will be paid. So last option or last preference is given to equity shareholders, and the amount of dividend paid is not fixed. In 1 year company is not having profits, so they don't pay dividend. Next year they are having huge profits, so they are paid very high dividend, which is even higher than the preference shareholders. So it can happen anyway. So it is like when losses are there, they are not paid dividend. When profits are there, high dividends are paid. So they are like sharing the responsibility of the company in as when compared to preference shareholders. So equity shareholders are known as the real owners of the company. And coming to any stakeholder, it can be equity, preference, or bond holders. Once they have paid some money and bought the shares, later on they cannot be asked to pay more than that. Suppose if the equity share price of a company is 100 rupees, so I buy the share by paying 100 rupees. Now, after 1 or 2 years, the company needs more money. So they cannot say that you are the real owner, you have to contribute some more for the well being of the company. Like that, the equity shareholders cannot be asked. Whatever is the value of the share at the time of issuing it, that 100 rupees face value, I have paid, I have taken the share, that's all. Nothing can be asked from me more than that. If the company needs more money, they have to look for other sources of financing, but to the existing shareholders, they cannot ask. That is known as limited liability of the shareholders. Okay, and a joint stock company can be either a public company or a private limited company. So private limited means it is not, the shares of those companies are not traded on the stock exchange, and the shares are not available for general public. Only a close group of members will be the owners of that company, and they will not disclose their financial things to the public. They want to keep it private. Whereas a public limited company, any body can buy the shares of the company, and all their financial information has to be published to the public. Okay, that is public limited company, and public limited company shares is what we see in the stock exchanges being traded. So for a private company, you need two people, and for a public limited company, you need seven people minimum to start it. And as I already told, they can hold assets in the company can hold assets in its own name, and it can sue and be sued. Court cases, file cases means court cases can be made on the name of the company only. And one more thing is in partnership, uh, you have to usually there would be a discussion before. Suppose if you want to stop being a partner of a company, of a partnership firm, you have to discuss with the other partners and then only transfer if they accept, or you have to convince. Some procedure will be there. But in a joint stock company, you are holding the equity shares. So now you don't want to own, you want money, or you are in need of money, so you can sell away your part of shares and get money in return for the shares. So you are transferring your shares to other person by selling away, or you can give it to your hires. Whatever shares you are having, you can give it to your kids, or you can give it to your, you can write in your will also that these shares will be transferred to my son, daughter, or something like that. So that way also, as a gift also you can transfer, by selling also you can transfer. Here the firm will not interfere. You are free to transfer your shares to anybody. And because a joint stock company is huge, they have access to financial resources also. That is, whenever there is need for funds, they want more funds, they can they have lot many options, like I have already told: equity shares, preference shares, and loans or issue of bonds. So comparing to other two forms of business, the amount of funds the company can raise is very huge, very massive. Okay. So this is an overview of financial management. You see here, the financial management ultimate goal is to maximize the shareholders value, equity shareholders value. Okay. So for increasing the value of the shareholders, some decisions are made by the financial manager. And what are those decisions? If you go through this flow chart from financial decisions, you have four important decisions that are taken up by a financial manager: investment decision, liquidity management, financing decision, and dividend decision. So these are the functions or decisions taken by financial manager, and whatever uh, decision it is, it will be falling under any one of the category. Okay. And whatever decision the financial management is taking, they have to understand the impact of that decision, both in terms of risk and return. Okay. They should not only look into the return factor, they should also look into the risk factor. So for example, investment decision is there. You want to invest in a project, the company wants to take up a project, or the two projects are there for the company. So the company has to make a decision which project it has to take up. So one project is giving a return on investment of 10%, and another is giving 15%. So obviously when we look into the just return factor, the one that is giving highest return will be selected, the project that is giving 15%. But the risk in the second project is high. How do you know the risk is high? You have some methods like what project is it, what cash flows it is giving in the initial years, what are the cash flows, then what type of business is it, what are the regulatory requirements, interference of the government, interfere, or what is the competition related to that particular project. So risk factor means a variability in the possible profits or gains that you can have. You may gain or you may lose. The chances of losing are also high. If risk is high means the chances of losing is also high. So the project, though it is giving higher returns, the risk factor is also very high. So you should compare the risk of both this projects, the return of both these projects, and accordingly you have to make a judicious decision whether you want to, okay, you are aiming for higher return of 15%, but at the same time is the company in a position to take high risk. So high risk here means whatever 15% the project is promising, you may not get that 15%, you will get loss also. That may be the, if the project works out well, you will get 15%, otherwise you will lose everything. That is a risk factor. But the first project where you have only 10% return, that is an assured 10%, the risk is less, no scope for variability in the risk. Like the whatever the project is promising 10%, that you are for sure going to get. So the risk is less in the first project. So you have to, the financial manager has to take the decision whether they want to take high risk, low risk, high return, low return. Okay. So whatever decision it can be, investment decision, or paying dividends to its shareholders, or raising capital, or working capital management, it can be any decision. They have to understand both what are the returns it is going to give and what is the risk involved, and then only make the decision. Okay. So as I told, the finance functions, you have four functions of financial management, and anything, any activity or any decision that will be falling under any one of the decisions. So we can bifurcate them as long term financial decisions and short term financial decisions. So long term means, just a second, I'll be taking the attendance at the end of the class at 10:15. 10:20 your class ends, right? So I'll be taking attendance at 10:15. So people, if you're leaving, then your attendance will not be counted. So any finance function, it can be divided as, the finance functions either are long term or short term. Under long term, you have investment decision, also known as capital budgeting, financing decision, also known as capital structure, dividend decision, also known as profit allocation. These are long term decisions taken yearly once or twice, 2 years in once, or for a long period of time. The effect of these decisions will be there for a long period of time. Whereas short term financial decisions also are liquidity decision or working capital management, where the firm on a regular basis or even on day to day basis, they have to take the decisions. So let us see what are these decisions, what it means. Capital budgeting or investment, as I told, long-term investment decisions, where usually which project we have to take up, or which asset. Usually in manufacturing firms, the machineries that are installed are of very high value. They amount to crores of rupees, and at the same time, the life of those machinery is very long. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, life will be there. So, the effect of this investment decision will be there for the whole life of the asset, or any project also you take. Usually, it will be for more than 1 year, can be for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years projects will also be there. Usually construction projects, they will be for long period like 5 years. Dam construction can take more than 5 years. Okay. So, or you have a highway construction, it can take even 10 years also. So like that, the project's life is very long, and whatever decisions you are making for this investment purpose, they will have effect on the profitability of the company for a long period of time. And this involves very huge amount of money, crores and millions of rupees. So that is why these decisions are very important. One thing is lot of risk is involved because it is for long period of time. You have to do lot of forecasting. Forecasting means uncertainty. You whatever you have forecasted, it can be right or it can be wrong. That is one thing. And the risk factor is more. The amount invested will be high. And once you have made a decision, reversing that decision is very difficult. You have started working on a project, you have put some money into that project. Stopping that project, you have to lose all your investment whatever you made till now. So once a decision is made and work has started, you cannot reverse that decision. So that is why this investment decision, it relates to the selection of an asset whose benefits will be available for a project's life, that is very long period. That is why we call it as what do you say, investment decision. And it is irreversible decision, right? So next, coming to capital structure or financing decision. What capital you are going to raise for making investment in a project or buying a long term asset? You need funds. And from where you are going to get those funds? By raising capital. So as we have already discussed, you can raise capital by issuing shares or by borrowing from financial institutions, or you can issue debentures. So any method you can use for raising the funds. Only thing is, it has to be an optimal capital structure. Now, what is an optimal capital structure? Every source of finance, it can be equity shares, preference, or debt. Every source will have some cost. On debt, you pay interest. On preference shares, you pay dividends. On equity shares, you pay dividends, right? So these are the costs of the capital. So, how much of debt will be there? How much of equity will be there? That will depend upon what is cost of each component of capital, and overall together, the cost of capital should be very less. Suppose if you are increasing debt and decreasing equity, the overall cost of capital is coming down. Or if you are decreasing debt and increasing equity, you need not pay interest. Debt means you pay interest. On shares, you don't pay any interest. So the cost of capital may come down. So, which combination is giving the least cost of capital? That combination you have to select, and you have to raise capital in that combination only. That is known as debt equity mixture or debt equity combination. And that is known as optimal capital structure, where your cost of capital is as low as possible. Obviously, any business would not want higher costs, they want less and less costs. And your financing decision is dependent upon your investment decision, or both we can say are interrelated. Suppose you have invested in a project that is giving you 20% per annum. Okay. So, from where you are going to get the funds for investing in the project? By this capital, by raising capital, by issuing shares or bonds or debentures, right? So when capital is raised, some cost will be incurred. So that cost of capital should be less than whatever return on investment you're getting on your projects. So 20%, suppose 20% is the return you're expecting on your investments, then your cost of capital should be way less than 20%. That way you have to plan for your capital. Okay. So these both are interrelated. Or if cost of capital say whatever you do, it cannot be reduced to less than 10%. 10% is the cost of capital, then you should look for those projects that will give you a return on investment that is way higher than 10%, so that at least you are covering your cost of capital. Okay. So next is dividend decision. Dividend means, can you tell me what is the dividend? Anybody? Jay? Yes, what is the dividend?
Dividend is a small proportion of profit that are paid to the shareholders.
Right. So once the company earns profits, those profits are distributed to the equity shareholders. Certain percentage, they declare certain percentage of dividend. So a company may earn profits, but everything is not given out to the shareholders. They may or may not give, and even if they are giving, some portion only is given. Suppose if the firm has earned a profit of, say, EPS. What is an EPS? It's a earning per share. That is, out of the total profits, if you are dividing it with number of equity shares, you will get the value of what is the profit or earning for one equity share. That is known as EPS. We will look this into these all concepts in the later classes. So out of the total earnings, how much is given out as dividend to the equity shareholders? That is known as dividend payout ratio. So a company can pay out the profits, or it can retain the profits without paying. When it will retain? if if it is planning some future projects, and if it needs funds, so what it will do is, whatever profits are there, without distributing it to the shareholders, it will keep the profits, retain the profits, and use that for future projects. Again, when they are investing in projects, it is beneficial for the shareholders, because when more projects means more profits for the company and more profits to the equity shareholders. So what proportion of their profits has to be distributed, and what has to be retained? What are they planning for the future? Whether they have any investment opportunities, so that they have to observe and accordingly make a decision whether to pay dividends or not, even if they are paying, how much to pay. So that is dividend decision. Yes, Jay?
Ma'am, let's say you said preferential shareholders, they give the first preference to getting the dividends, right? Here,
Right.
if the company decides not to, give out the dividends, that means, like, they're actually objecting what their rule, which means not giving the preference to the preference shareholders,
No,
right?
no, no. The decision whether to pay or not is only related to equity shareholders, not to the preference shareholders. Preference shareholders, they have to be paid.
Let's say, ma'am, like EPS is low,
EPS, okay, let me tell you, EPS is calculated only after deducting whatever dividend is paid to the preference shareholders.
okay.
Those are profits available purely only to the equity shareholders.
Okay.
Okay. Next one is liquidity decision or working capital decision. So on day-to-day basis, funds are needed by the company, like transport for transportation, and on day-to-day basis, like petty expenses will be there. Then you have daily maintenance expenses, transportation, and all those things. And you need to pay to your creditors, and you receive money from your debtors. That is, you make credit sales, your money is locked up there. You have to pay to your suppliers, you have to pay your bills on time. So managing your cash is, working capital is managing your liquidity position and cash position, so that you are able to meet your day to day financial requirements. That is known as working capital decision. So how much of cash you have to hold, how much of credit you can give to your debtors, how much of credit you asked from your suppliers, idle cash, to what extent you can keep, because having a lot of idle cash is also waste. Then how much of inventory you have to maintain your godowns based on your production or sales. So all this is part of liquidity or working capital decision. So why this is important is, if you're not having proper liquidity, what will happen? If you don't have proper liquidity in hands, liquidity means you don't have
It will be difficult.
cash.
It will be difficult
Yes,
to do the day-to-day work.
right. And what happens is, usually the credibility of the business is lost when you're not able to pay your bills on time. That gives a very bad impression in the market. Okay. And if you're not paying salaries to your employees on time, if you're not paying your electricity bills on time, then sustainability, somebody has said sustainability will become difficult for the company. Okay. So I'll be taking the attendance. We'll continue this class tomorrow.